Kindness will change the world. Not only will it, it already has. People's lives have been saved because of this act of kindness through its profound ripple effects. Not only, lives been changed, but literally saved. But when this act of kindness happened on Good Friday morning, 2023, you talk about making a meaningful difference. There's nothing more meaningful than literally trying to change the world through kindness, which is what this movement of kindness worldwide is all about. No act of kindness is too small to make a difference and change a life, and anyone can make a lasting impact, and I would argue even change the world through kind actions. We all have that ability. Kindness is the world's greatest superpower. What matters at the end of the day is how many lives we've touched, how many lives we've enriched. It's making a difference, making an impact.
Business with a servant's heart. Welcome to the podcast. Steve Ramona. Business with a servant's heart. Listen to the podcast. Steve Ramona. We're all about to talk on life. Our guest will share his life story. We want you to success in life. We're ready and we will start shortly. We're gonna talk on life. We're gonna talk on business. You're gonna shine bright. We are gonna witness.
Shout out to my sponsors, A Mind for All Seasons. Your brain is your greatest competitive edge, so why not optimize it? Just text OPTIMIZE to 72000, 72000 for instant access to 6 quick videos that help you think faster, remember more, and stay focused longer. A big thanks to Epic App, the 4-step storytelling system I use every day to connect and to convert. Try it free. Email me at stever1961@gmail.com. That's stever1961@gmail.com, and I'll get you the free app. Doing Business with a Servant's Heart was just named top 6 in small business marketing. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Welcome, everyone, to Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. I'm your host, Steve Ramona. I'm excited for you to join us today, and I'm starting a new thing with my podcast. I'm going to give you a gratitude message before we start. The message today is, you are amazing. Your dreams deserve to come true, and that's all of you. Think about that, write that down, and I know your life will be a little bit better. I'm excited to have my guest on. We met a few months ago, and I can't think of a better servant's heart. Because what goes with a servant's heart is kindness. You can't be, if you're not kind, you can't be a servant heart. It just doesn't work. It's a square peg in a round hole, or vice versa. It just doesn't work. And we're going to talk about kindness and so many other great things. Let's welcome our guest. Kevin, welcome to their show.
Well, hi, Steve. How you doing? It's great to be with you. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. Like I said, I'm excited to have you on. Kindness, what's your definition of that?
Well, I define kindness as love in action. And, it is an action, and it's kind of a state of being. It's how we see the world. Gratitude, you mentioned earlier, is, when you're grateful every day and you just see kindness through a different lens, but it's really an action word. It's what we do for others, less about what we do for ourselves. We need to be kind to ourselves, but it's all about giving back, giving to others, making our world a better place.
Can kindness fall into our professional and personal lives, or is it just being personal with their friends, family, and others?
Well, it's all the above. I mean, the nonprofit I was inspired to create because of an act of kindness called Kindness Worldwide has a vision to create a culture of kindness in communities throughout the world. And if you think about what a community is, it's really any place where 2 or more people rely on interdependence to thrive. So that can be a family, that can be a business, a workplace, it can be a school, a town, a city, a state, a country, entire world, or a global community. And when you think from a business standpoint, when you lead with kindness, it's a strength, and you create that culture of trust and community in your organization. There's a science behind this, but productivity improves. Uh, ROI, I think the key to ROI, return on investments, return on kindness. Kindness costs nothing, but the returns are exponential. And if you create that culture in your organization, people come to work because they love to work. You bring out the best in your people, bring about the best in others. You will bring about the best in your company. And so we want to bring a culture of kindness everywhere, including our businesses, schools, family, you name it. We want to bring kindness anywhere and everywhere.
I love a community because that's big because community can make it spread. One person can go so far, but a community can bring it farther. So let's look at the flip side of this. People are unkind. Why do you think they are unkind? You might not have the answer. And how can they be not unkind to be kind again?
Well, I think unkindness at its core is because everyone has a story. And I think everyone in their own way, sometimes people are dealing with various traumas in their life. Maybe their life experiences has not been ideal. And some project that trauma to others in the form of unkindness. I think it's sometimes that's a way of superiority, maybe to project or compensate for their own insecurities for various reasons. But it does tie into empathy. Empathy is one of the eight characteristics of kindness. I identified eight on this journey, and sometimes, we want others to know our stories, and we're very um, short to kind of or dismissive of others, and yet
Right.
everyone has a story. And if someone comes at us with unkindness, we instantly sometimes want to react with unkindness. And nothing good happens that way. I think math is wrong. You think math, a negative times a negative is a positive. Well, in the kindness space, an unkindness followed by unkindness, nothing good happens. But if you respond with kindness, you respond with empathy, you try to put yourself in their shoes and maybe give them the benefit of the doubt and think, something is causing them, something is triggering them in some way, and just try to listen more and be present to others. Often we will find that unkindness at its core is because someone's been unkind to them. But if we show kindness to others and do our best, that's why kindness is such a strength.
Mhm.
We can bring out the best in others. If we see the goodness in people, they will see the goodness in us, and only good things can happen.
I love that because being reactive, I used to be like that. You're unkind and judgmental and all that, just a negative impact. You just come back with that. And that's the human nature, which we need to change, which you're doing. You mentioned Kindness Worldwide nonprofit. You have a film we'll talk about in a minute, but the story that it came about is unbelievable. Tell us that story.
Well, you're asking me to describe the indescribable. I'll do my best. There's actually an hour and 51-minute film that's a powerful film, but even that doesn't do it justice. But long story short, I was a beneficiary of an act of kindness on Good Friday morning, 2023 of all days. My wife sent me to the grocery store on a routine errand to pick up just two items. I did that just fine. I checked out and drove straight home. And the moment I returned home, I realized I had left one important item behind, which was my wallet. And in that precise moment, it was 9:57 a.m. to be exact. My Ring doorbell footage captured all my fingers literally on the panic button, which is the ignition button of my car, because I knew I had to have left my wallet behind at the store. In that precise moment, there's a young woman at my front door holding my wallet, asking if it was mine. And apparently she found it on the ground and saw my driver's license, returned it immediately without hesitation, went the extra mile, so to speak. And I thanked her at the time. I offered her a monetary reward. She refused to accept. And and as she drove away, I walked inside. I was just overwhelmed by what I had just experienced. And I felt a thank you wasn't enough. I felt I should have done more for her, like she did for me. And so, in that subsequent endeavor to identify who this young woman was, thank her in a more meaningful way, it literally took on a life of its own, impossible to put into words. And it became so much more. It became about making a meaningful difference. And it opened up pathways, in my desire to, pay it forward, so to speak, to actually do something that matters, to bring people and communities together at a time our world needs it now more than ever. And ultimately inspired me to launch the global nonprofit Kindness Worldwide. We launched it on November 9th, 2023, just 7 months after this act of kindness occurred. It occurred to me on this journey, Steve, that we all recognize we need more kindness in our world. Well, how do we get more of something we all agree we want and need more of? Well, we encourage it, we recognize it, we reward it, and we celebrate it. And it occurred to me that we don't do enough of that for kindness. We celebrate many things. We have days and weeks, months even for many things, but not for kindness. And I'm like, that needs to change. So our signature initiative was Kindness Week Worldwide. It's the Saturday before World Kindness Day to the Saturday after. It's 8 days instead of seven. Why 8 days? I think kindness deserves an extra day of the week, so we added an extra day. By then, I identified 8 characteristics of kindness. So symbolically, we have one day for each characteristic. And we created a framework to bring people and communities together around what I believe is humanity's greatest asset. We had police departments issuing kindness citations to improve police community relations, to see the good that defines our communities. We had blood drives, symbolic of paying an act of kindness forward. We've inspired people to donate blood, which literally save lives. We had see the good and be the good kindness cards to promote mindful kindness, distributed by merchants and communities. Schools were engaging, businesses were engaging, and this movement of Kindness Week worldwide, we also had it formally recognized by mayors and even governors. And this movement is now spread to communities all throughout the country and the world. I gave the keynote address at the 11th General Assembly of the World Kindness Movement in Palermo, Italy in October 2024. And there I called on leaders at all levels, every country, including every member nation of the United Nations, to elevate kindness to the global shared value that represents all of humanity, to formally recognize this meaningful week. There's no reason not to, every reason we must. And as crazy as it sounds, there's actually a pathway for that to happen. So stay tuned. I'm just hanging on for dear life. This is bigger than me, but it's necessary. And there's many parts to the vision of kindness worldwide. We can use sports to bring people and communities together. Music has unifying properties to bring people and communities together. There are curriculums we can teach in our schools. There's public service announcements. We can turn anti-bullying into pro-kindness. We have a campaign called Cool to Be Kind that send a message to our children who represent the future of this world that it is a strength to be kind. It is hip, fashionable, trendy, and cool to be kind. That's a message they need to hear. And there's enough role models, celebrities in this heart space that I know will send that message. So stay tuned. This vision is very real. There's a path, and I'm determined that we all can manifest this magic together.
Well, it's interesting that I said you're amazing. Your dreams deserve to come true was my gratitude card today. And that's what's happened to you because people lose their wallet all the time. Not common, but I mean, I lost my wallet 3, 4 months ago. I couldn't find it, but I found it somewhere stuck in the car. I remember it was. But you took this act of kindness that most people go, you should do. And what I love about her, if you can say her name, what's her name?
Her name is Brooke Dubs. And she has a powerful story as well. There's so much more of the story, but
Yeah.
this young woman, really, when you learn more about what inspired her and her story, it's even more powerful and more to it than meets the eye.
Well, and Brooke, shout out to you on this show. I hope you hear this. My heart's with you because I talk about serving. She found your wallet. She could give it to the manager at the grocery store. And that's everybody in the world would go, oh, that's pretty cool. She did that. She went to the next level of serving, of being kind to drive to your house. I want to sure people understand that. And that's what got you excited, I think. I think you might have still done it if the manager called you from the store and said, hey, she found it. But because she drove to your car or to your house, that the catalyst to start this whole thing. Is that correct?
You bet. Well, she literally went the extra mile. She went
Yeah.
above and beyond. She could have just handed it to the store manager, but I haven't shared this much, but I will share this because it makes them even more powerful. Is look, many of us are down on our luck. There's many in this world that are struggling to make ends meet, living paycheck to paycheck. I learned afterwards, and it came out in the interviews of this film. It's not in the film, but it came out in the interview process. What we learned was that her and her friend Emily, who drove her that day, and drove her to my home. Brooke wasn't the driver. She insisted Emily, get in the car and drive to my home, which she knew my address. But they were at the store that day to buy tuna fish because it's the only thing they could afford at the time.
Oh,
Now, when you think of that, like, look, how easy would it have been to say, hey, I found a wallet, there's money in here, and that would have been okay. And I would have been okay with that.
yeah.
But there was no hesitation. It wasn't like they had to think twice. And Emily said, Brooke, you should give it to the store manager, and there could be just kind of assuming the worst, right? And Brooke's like, no, no, we've got to go. He doesn't live that far away, 2.6 miles to be exact. And she insisted. And there's so much more to Brooke and Emily's story. I've learned afterwards that it's featured in the film, but it was just more than just finding a wallet and doing the right thing. She did go above and beyond. And you mentioned gratitude. This whole journey began with gratitude, Steve. All I wanted to do was thank her in a more meaningful way. And it literally from that point on took on a life of its own. This moment of kindness changed my life, and it did it in two ways. The first is without even realizing it, I was a news junkie, and I'd be watching the news every day and my social media feed, and I was getting conditioned to see the world through a lens that was increasingly half empty instead of half full. I was seeing the bad. And this act of kindness essentially snapped me out of a subconscious trance and made me realize, no, the good's the norm. Kindness is the norm. The bad happens, can't deny it happens, but it's still the exception, not the norm. There's good and kindness everywhere. We all just need to open our eyes to see it. But the second way it changed my life is I used to be frustrated, like we all are, about the bad things that happen in our world. I think there's so much division. I think there are those in leadership positions who aren't leaders, they're dividers. They're stoking the flames, not diffusing them. And that's true of the media. I think that's true of elected officials. Everyone can do better, but they're not leading. And I'll be so frustrated. I'd see what I felt was a failure of leadership, and I would vent to my friends about what I felt was going on. And a good friend of mine, his name's Tony Fry, a number of years ago, he looked me in the eye after I vented for, countless minutes. He said, Kevin, I hear you and I get it. I understand. He said, what are you going to do about it? And at the time, Steve, I looked at him dumbfounded, like, what can I do about it? I'm just an ordinary guy. I mean, what I can't do anything about it. I can be frustrated about it, but it planted a seed. And as this adventure took on a life of its own and became an adventure of a lifetime, instead of dwelling on all the things I couldn't control, I started to redirect my energies on what I could, which is my own actions and behaviors. I can point the finger all I want all day long to others. I can't control their own actions, but I can control my own. And what I can hope is that by leading by my own example, perhaps I can inspire others and empower them to follow it. And as this took on a life of its own and opened up pathways to make a meaningful difference, now I'm at a point where I feel empowered. I don't feel powerless anymore. I feel empowered to try as best as I can to be the reason someone believes in the goodness of people, to lead by my example. And if nothing else, I'm committed to try. But the theme of the General Assembly in Palermo, Italy, at the World Kindness Movement, where I gave a keynote address, was kindness will change the world. And Steve, I'm convinced there's a path. Kindness will change the world. Not only will it, it already has. People's lives have been saved because of this act of kindness through its profound ripple effects. Not only lives been changed, but literally saved. And we're just getting warmed up. But really just began by just losing this wallet. But what I say is what I found the day I lost my wallet, what I found was priceless. I found my purpose.
Change in mindset, change in thought, change in action. It's powerful. And you're a financial advisor, right? That's your business.
I am. I mean, by day, I'd be 25 years next year. I founded a wealth advisory practice, Smith Wealth Advisory Group, and my whole life, Steve, I've lived by a mantra and a value system. I believe the meaning of life is to live it in a way to make a meaningful difference. And that's largely shaped by my upbringing. And I was in the corporate world to start my career, had a great career, but it wasn't very meaningful at the time. It was a paper company, Fortune 500 company. I was successful on paper, but paper is important, not meaningful. But years ago, I left the corporate world, started a wealth advisory practice. One of my favorite quotes is by Henry David Thoreau. Wealth is the ability to fully experience life. It's very meaningful for my team and I to help translate our clients' monetary resources into meaningful life experiences. And again, it'll be 25 years in practice. So I'm blessed to do what I love by day, feel like I'm doing something meaningful. But when this act of kindness happened on Good Friday morning, 2023, you talk about making a meaningful difference. There's nothing more meaningful than literally trying to change the world through kindness, which is what this movement of kindness worldwide is all about.
Do you think you could change the world?
Absolutely. Honestly, I was born and raised in an environment where my mom in particular was my why, and I always wanted to make her proud. And there was nothing that I could not do in her eyes, and no dream was too big. And I've always kind of grown up feeling like anyone can change the world. I mean, this story is proof. My story is proof. Our story, which I call Kindness Worldwide, is our story. No act of kindness is too small to make a difference and change a life. And anyone can make a lasting impact, and I would argue even change the world through kind actions. Well, why not me? Why not us? We all have that ability. And even if it's just changing someone's world around us, just by being kind. Those little things have profound ripple effects. We all have that
Mhm.
ability. We just need to choose to exercise the power we possess that most of us do not even realize that we have. Kindness is the world's greatest superpower. We just don't recognize the ability we have. All we got to do is choose to exercise it and unleash its limitless potential.
Choose, choose, choose. Mindset. The mindset of doing that, and good things will happen. Let's not be a monetary world. Let's be a kindness world. Monetization comes. Things are going to happen. Because I get into conversations all the time. Hey, I'm broke and this, and a lot of people are broken, hurting, and struggling. But you can be kind. You can serve. It's free, but the impact is massive. Just have to have patience, right?
Absolutely. Well, to me, money's a byproduct. And you look at the scheme of
Yeah.
life, too many people focus on the money, right? And at the end of the day, there's a quote that comes to mind. It's by George Lorimer. And he said, it's good to have money and the things money can buy, but you might want to check up once in a while and make sure you haven't lost the things money can't buy. And the things that are priceless are really the things like relationships, it's friends, it's family, it's loved ones, it's meaningful life experiences. And I think sometimes we get caught up in our day-to-day lives,
Yeah.
career, this quest for success, so to speak, however we define it. At the end of the day, those things don't matter. They matter
Yeah.
very little. What matters at the end of the day is how many lives we've touched, how many lives we've enriched. I mean, that's true wealth. That's the riches of life itself. And I'd like to think that in some way, all of our days on this earth are limited. And I'd like to think that whenever my time is up and I depart this earth, that this world is a little bit better because I lived in it than had I had not. And at the end of the day, I think that's a mindset all of us should have because that's what wealth really is. It's making a difference, making an impact. And like I said, for me, that's always been my value system. And nothing could be any bigger than this movement of kindness worldwide and what we're all in the midst of achieving together.
And kindness and servant's heart. And this is what an audience, this is important. If Brooke didn't take the step to drive to your house, you didn't know what shoes you're gonna. She didn't know you were gonna do this. You didn't know you were gonna do this. This is the power of serving slash kindness. Is you can make a difference in somebody's lives, and you don't even know you're doing it until you've got the kindness done. That's one of the big messages I got when you first told me about this. And we're coming to the end here, but I know people listening are like me. The first one of the questions I asked you, what about these guitars? They're really cool. What's the story?
Well, music again is a great way of bringing people and communities together. And I always wanted to play guitar, and as life started to pass me by, I realized life's too short to live it with any regret. And so it's been about 12 years ago, I started to play guitar, and I take an hour lesson every week. And what began as one guitar has now become a family of a dozen or more. You see a few of the family behind me. They all have names. They're either named after my wife or a pet, a dog, or a combination of the two. So, there's Anne Marie, which is my wife is Anne Marie. There's Sophia. I have a dog named Sophie, and Bella, Annabelle. But the first guitar. I will share this. My mom was my everything. I lost my mom about 15 years ago, but I miss her every day, and she will always be my why to make her proud. But the very first guitar that I owned, I named her Shelva Jean. My mom was named Shelva Jean, and I call it the mother guitar that started it all.
Hey man, that's awesome. So you're telling me all those guitars behind you, you could pull it out. I'm not going to ask you, but you could pull it down and start playing it right now. Any of those guitars.
Absolutely. And I kind of I like to channel my inner guitar hero from time to time. There's a lot of greats, but Eddie Van Halen, the late Eddie Van Halen is one of my favorites, and Randy Rhoads another, of course, Joe Bonamassa, and but I always wanted to play Eruption, and I thought, I'll never be able to play Eruption. Well, there's an adage: whether you say you can or you can't, you're right. And a number of years ago, I'm like, I want to do it. I'm very goal oriented, and so I started to learn it. And I can actually play Eddie's Eruption, which is one of his signature guitar riffs from Van Halen's first album. And I like to crank the amp up a little bit, much to my wife's dismay. But I like to shred a little bit. But music and guitar in particular is really a great escape for me, Steve, because this journey at Kindness Worldwide has been so intense. It's not all been rainbows and unicorns behind the scenes. It consumes a lot of time and energy. But when I am holding guitar, playing guitar. I'm in my element. I literally tune everything else out in the world, tune in the music, and just really in my element.
Really impressed. I love guitar players. I can never do it. Well, I could. There I go saying never. I could if I wanted to learn to
Never
do it.
too
Thank
late,
you for
Steve.
teaching.
Never too late.
And this journey with your guitars, the reason I brought that up is that's why Kindness Worldwide is going, because you set a goal and you don't stop. And that's why it's growing. It's amazing how we learn these things in other activities that we carry over to these big things that we do. Well, we'll come to the end here, but I got a real fun question. I'm very curious to hear your answers to this. So we're at your favorite restaurant. Me and you are sitting there. I've reserved a table. You're going to invite 3 people who've been influential in your life, whether dead or alive. And then what food are you ordering for the table?
Oh my gosh. Well, I don't know if I'll answer them in order, but the 3 people, well, definitely be my late mother. Um, It'd be my late grandfather. They're probably the 2 individuals who really shaped my life. I am who I am because of them in various ways. And look, I'm a person of faith, and no better person to break bread with than Jesus Christ himself. It's Christmas coming up. We celebrate,
Yep.
I'm a Christian, and but I think when you think about faith, all the world's religions, the one common denominator they all have is they all believe in a divine creator that promotes and encourages kindness. And for me and my faith, there's no better role model or exemplar of kindness or epitome of kindness than Jesus himself, who really led by example. And if we all try to do, what Jesus would do, was it a mantra? Our world would be a better place. And I just try my own way to live by his example. I'm flawed like we all are. I fail often. But I try to be Christ-like in all my interactions. As far as the food, I once ate pizza for 532 consecutive days at work, and I kind of had a streak like Cal Ripken until it ended one day, almost like Forrest Gump. I decided to stop running. I decided to stop eating pizza. A good pizza place always works. I also got into sushi recently. I love sushi. I don't know if I have a particular name of a favorite restaurant, but if it's got pizza in it, that'll certainly rank up there, or sushi.
We're starting a whole new restaurant, pizza with sushi. I think it goes together very well.
There you go. There's a combination.
Yeah, see,
Only someone like me would actually come up with something like that and be perfectly content.
especially somebody that's 532 days of pizza. I'm envious.
Well, it wasn't
Thank you.
quite 2,162 or whatever it was. A couch 2,632 straight games Cal Ripken had. So I fell well short of that, but I don't know that anyone has a record that has exceeded that. But
And I
it's
would,
not tracked by Guinness. But maybe they should. If they did, I probably would have owned that record.
yeah, I wouldn't want you to go 2000. I don't think you'd be here today. I think that, but we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I try to keep the pizza intake to a minimum these days.
Good.
My metabolism isn't quite what it used to be.
Yeah. I always pray for Joey that does the hot dog eating contest, Joey Chestnut. It's like, I don't know how you do it. I'm sure he doesn't eat hot dogs for a year. But besides being that, Kevin, thank you for sharing this incredible story. God bless you. I know people want to reach out. How can they find out about Kindness Worldwide, the movie, and connect with you?
Yeah, well, go to kindnessworldwide.org. There's a couple brief videos on the homepage, gives you all the context, including trailers for the film itself, which is about to take the film festival circuit by storm. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook. You can email me, ksmith@kindnessworldwide.org. I'm very accessible. And look, this is our story. If any of you want to be part of this individually or have your businesses or brands behind it, I'm all in on this. And if we're all in together, we will change the world. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah, true servant's heart, audience, right here. We just heard it from Kevin. Thanks again, Kevin. And audience, subscribe to you podcast. Of course, subscribe to mine or any other. And here's a perfect example. If you're listening to this podcast that Kevin, as a guest, put all these great information out about kindness, and we're just 2 days, 3 days away from Christmas. You're at a Christmas party or New Year's Eve party, and you hear somebody down and out, bring kindness to them or share this video with them, share this podcast with them. And I guarantee you're going to impact their life. How much? We don't scoreboard impact. We don't scoreboard kindness. And he said it earlier on the show. It can be small, big, or large. That's not the point. Is just be kind. With that being said, me and Kevin want to thank everybody for watching. or listening to this podcast. And we'll see you all in the next episode of Doing Business with a Servant's Heart. Have a great day, everyone.